With the recent release of the D23 footage alluding to a potential dark path for Rey, removing her from the teachings of the light, it's hard not to imagine the potential behind this image. Whether this is a vision provided to her by Palpatine, a dark side clone version of Rey, or a representation of her actual fall is a video for another day, as there'll be lots of time to speculate on those aspects as Episode 9 quickly approaches. The image of Rey connected to the dark side conjures another related question. Why didn't Supreme Leader Snoke try to turn Rey to the dark side or train her? If there's the potential for Rey to be pulled to the dark side by, say, a returned Palpatine in Episode 9, why didn't Snoke, a character described as one steeped in dark side knowledge, even attempt to tap into that potential? This is made even more confusing with the reference to other apprentices of Snoke in the Episode 7 visual dictionary and the recent Age of Resistance Snoke comic, not to mention the existence of Kylo Ren himself. To answer this question, we'll look deeper into Snoke's thoughts in the scenes that saw him attempt to pull Luke's location from Rey's mind, provided in the Episode 8 novelization. There are a number of important points related to the throne room interaction between the two characters, but it boils down to one ultimate obsession for Snoke: the destruction of Luke Skywalker. It should first be noted that the possibility of turning Rey to the dark side and taking her as his apprentice was not completely lost on Snoke. From Rey's dismantling of Kylo on Starkiller Base, Snoke knew she was powerful, but this respect expanded considerably once they were face to face within Snoke's throne room. Snoke saw Rey as strong and even more powerful than he could imagine. It wasn't simply that she had strength with the Force, but strength and will as well, which would allow her to command such power. Interestingly, as the throne room scene played out, moving closer to what Snoke ultimately believed was the death of Rey at the hands of Kylo, the Supreme Leader lamented the fact on two separate occasions the unfortunate circumstances that Rey would have to die. Not only was she unexpectedly strong in the Force, which intrigued him, but more important to the point of our video here, Snoke knew that he could take hold of Rey's growing hatred and fear and use it to forge her into a potent weapon. But if that was the case, why would one of Snoke's final thoughts before his death be that in another era, Rey would have made someone a superb apprentice? Why not for Snoke within the present? This final thought from Snoke regarding Rey is the defining element for the idea that Rey be turned to the dark side and accepted as Snoke's apprentice. That path was so outside of Snoke's goals and endgame by that point that it wasn't even really a true option to be considered. By the time Rey and Snoke met upon the supremacy, only one goal dominated the mind of the Supreme Leader. He was defined by his hunt for Luke and his destruction, thereby preventing the rise of the new Jedi Order led by Luke. This was all Snoke truly cared about, and for good reason in my opinion. Yes, Snoke knew that killing Skywalker would provide him with a dominant reign over the galaxy, but there was much more going on within Snoke's mind than simply hunting one powerful individual. We touched on it in our video discussing Snoke's quote that he both respected and feared Luke, but the crucial point to Snoke's obsession was the fact that the Supreme Leader understood that, like his father Anakin, Luke was a favored instrument of the will of the cosmic force, which is to say, he was connected to a destiny that was in tune with the Force itself. This terrified Snoke, forcing him to watch Luke as he gained power within the unknown regions. And once Luke committed to restoring the Jedi Order under his guidance and teachings, Snoke knew it was essential to act, which eventually culminated with the fall of Ben Solo. All of this is to say that during these important scenes with Snoke and Rey in Episode 8, Snoke was consumed by his obsession with destroying Luke. While the Supreme Leader would certainly find Rey to be powerful, at the same time, it was only relevant to Snoke on the periphery, things he noticed in passing while focusing on the bigger story. The larger concern for Snoke was finally entering the critical phase of his plan, what he referred to as the endgame in which he had foreseen, which was obtaining Luke's location and then destroying him. With Rey in front of the Supreme Leader, Snoke had no time to consider options for Rey's power. She was valuable to Snoke for one reason and one reason only: to provide him with the location of Luke. That was her role in the larger story, and the only service Snoke required of her. As Snoke recognized, despite her power, he no longer had a need for an apprentice, what he referred to as a crude tool. He only needed Skywalker, and once Rey had given up his location, she could be discarded. While it speaks to the arrogance and confidence Snoke had, there's definitely a logic there too. It's also not unimportant that Snoke also recognized Rey contained the spirit of a true Jedi, which would force him to conclude that that alone meant she had to die. You might rightly be asking, but if Snoke recognized Rey could be a powerful apprentice and still completely rejected her as an unneeded crude tool in the larger story involving Luke, Why did Snoke take Kylo Ren as an apprentice? Kylo was in a completely different situation than Rey, and his fall as Ben Solo was instrumental in Snoke's plan to take down Luke. In fact, if it wasn't for Luke's decision to form his own Jedi Order, it's very likely Snoke wouldn't have even accepted Kylo as his apprentice. For Snoke, Kylo had played his role perfectly, destroying everything Luke had built and then forcing the Jedi Master into exile. Ben Solo had a role within Snoke's designs for Luke, while Rey had absolutely none, other than providing Luke's location. That's it. But as Snoke recognized, Rey did have the potential to be a valued apprentice to another master in another era. Perhaps that era wasn't as far off as Snoke realized, with Rey becoming the target of another individual steeped in the knowledge of the dark side, and one who might have a larger vision for the galaxy following the death of Luke. Again, we'll speculate on those aspects as the Rise of Skywalker approaches. So there we have it, why Snoke didn't attempt to turn Rey to the dark side. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. Or perhaps follow us on Twitter at SW Reading Club for updates regarding the channel. Or support the channel through Patreon for access to exclusive rewards and discussions. If not for me, for lack of vision.